Okay, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the Black Swan Capitalist. Today we have a special guest with us. I know we got a lot of requests for this gentleman. It is Gregory Mannarino. He's the founders of TradersChoice.net, and he has a phenomenal YouTube channel covering everything around monetary policy, debt, the Federal Reserve, the central banks, and the corruption and everything from A to Z. So you can give him a follow, but we're going to get into this. Thank you, Gregory, for joining us today. We really appreciate it. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I'm thrilled to be here, and let's get this done. I'm excited.
Versan, you want to start it off, or you want me to?
Yeah, be happy to. What we're seeing in the world right now, it's just insane. We're seeing the destruction of currency, and a lot of this is through debt. And as inflation continues to rise, we see the confidence in the dollar being lost. The U.S. is currently on a trajectory to losing its global status as the reserve currency with the dollar. My question to get this started is really, how much longer can we see the Fed continue to bend the system before it breaks?
Well, first of all, I'm thrilled to hear you bring up the fact that you are seeing what I am. And that is, I think we're going to see currency destruction. That was my big theme for this year. We're going to see this accelerate moving forward. Look, I've been telling people since I started that, these central banks, what are they doing? They're working collectively to suck the purchasing power out of their currency. And, people don't think, what is the real reason why we're seeing all this inflation right now as central banks run wild? What are they actually doing here? I think it's a move to a one world, more than likely digital style currency once they finish depopulating the world. And I think we're right on that track right now with expanding wars. Now, with regard to the US dollar and how long is it going to look, what are they doing? The world is now clearly on a war footing. I just did a video literally just 5 minutes before this interview where I said I was talking to Joe Salente about this. It's begun. This is it. We've started the World War III. And I've also explained to people that the Fed, having the world reserve currency gives that nation who has it a lot of power. We get to export inflation to the rest of the world. Whoever owns the world reserve currency, and I think we're getting away from like this being held by one central bank. I think it's going to be more like spread out. I'm not really sure how it's going to work, but I'm certain that there's a move already, and it's been for a while, to bring about a new system because the current system is dying. And that's one of the main reasons why we see war, expanding war, and we're going to see this get a lot worse from here. That's where I believe this is going. And I just see the writing on the wall. It's been there for a really, really long time. And I think, it's not just you and me. It's I'm sure people that follow our work. And, the more I talk to people, the more I hear people are getting it. And it really makes me happy because I'm saying, hey, you know what? People aren't maybe as dumb as we thought they were. People are seeing what's happening. And the thing is with people, it takes a lot to get them to open their eyes. They don't open their eyes until they're personally affected. When people like in this kind of environment are borrowing beyond their eyeballs just to survive, what 1 in 3 families here in the United States, 1 in 3 has no choice but to take on more debt just to make ends meet. And what is this doing? It's creating dependency on the system, like I've been talking about for quite a long time. This is what they must do. Crush the economy, hurt the consumer, create more dependency on the system. And that's where we're going here. And I think this whole issue with the devaluation of currencies, or the central banks in a race to the bottom, and this year is going to get there first, is a way that they're putting more pressure on the population. That's going to get worse. The lie that has been sold started with transitory and temporary, and then it's peaking, and it just keeps rising here. And I don't think you're surprised by that. I'm not surprised. I've been telling people for the longest time, look, what are they doing? They're going to continue to inflate. I don't care what they got to do, whether it's funding wars or whatever it might be. War is obviously going to take more cash to fund than anything else. It generates more cash flow than any other endeavor on the planet. So this is why we're going to see this expand as they crush the economy, as central banks solidify their position as world control, because that's what they are.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I totally agree with you. But the thing I was going to ask you about is they could buy time for only so long, right? It's going to.
That's why, in my view, we're seeing this rapid acceleration towards. Well, nations have been arming themselves for a while now, and we're seeing this war expand. So that's what they do. Using Gerald Salente's words, I love the guy. When all else
He's
fails,
fantastic.
nothing is failing here, they bring you to war. This is all by design.
Absolutely.
Nothing we're seeing, none of it is just by accident. None of it ever.
Yeah.
It's just, this has all been thought out. They know exactly the particular cogs or wheels they need to turn to push the population in a certain direction. So how long can this go? I mean, I think what they're going to do eventually, as I said, is bring down the current system by design. Yeah. And then, hey, don't worry about it. We have a new system for you. We're going to help all of you. It's all about control. And they got to control the people. And how do they do that? Via, I mean, what do we all do? We all transact in their currency, Oh, God forbid you decide to transact in anything else other than what they want you in. Then, of course, your public enemy number one. But that's what they're doing here. And I really feel that that's why right now we're seeing this rapid acceleration of expanding war. I mean, we all knew that this whole thing was not going to stop. And it looks like they really got their foot on the throat of the people of the world. And I mean, you got a lot of people who don't see what's going on. They really believe this is about freedom and about borders, and it has nothing to do with it whatsoever. Absolutely. But that's really what they're trying to sell to the people. And some people are buying it. I mean, believe me, I've been taking a lot of heat from people that, oh, Greg, you don't support this war. You're not a patriot. You're not this. You're not that. Really? Oh, okay. Oh, what am I supposed to do? Act like a drone like you are? And I agree with everything you say? No. I don't think it goes that way.
Essentially, the Fed then is actively involved in dethroning the dollar as they continue to inflate. But it seems like they're looking for an exit strategy outside of fiat currencies, because I guess with cash, you have more privacy. Once they get digital, though, that's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, you're 100% right. They've been working towards a cashless society for years and years. So that's really the mechanism here. Bring down the current system. Because it's melting down. Look, it's a sick system. Think about it, system. Without continually, relentlessly, 24 hours a day, pulling more cash into now and continuing to inflate, this thing ends. It ends, but like in a nanosecond. And so they're destroying the current system by design. And then they're going to, I don't know when this is going to be. It's hard to say. I can't put a finger on it. No one can. But it's going to happen. And I think it'll happen at a time when they have more people dependent on the current system, on the government, which is really the central banks. And then, of course, they'll issue in their new system of full control. They're going to track every transaction down to the thousandth of a cent here. Mm-hmm. You won't be able to lend someone $5 anymore without them knowing about it. Hey, could you lend me $5 for gas? I got to, whatever it might be. Try to give a homeless guy in the street a few dollars, can't happen. They're going to track it all. They're going to know exactly what you're doing, and it's all about control. And I don't think we've seen nothing yet to what's coming down the pike. Anyway, that's how I see it.
That's the thing. They don't understand that the whole war, like seriously, enough of the bullshit people. They don't understand this is a war about control and the currency. It's a currency war. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's about controlling the money and the new system.
Well, that's what I try to explain to people every freaking day in my life, that, they control the financial system. They control the economy. So how are central banks not the government? They control everything. They control the narrative, all of it. I mean, I don't think people understand really. They might think this sounds like science fiction or something, but it's a fact. If people really understood when central banks, when the idea of central banking came up, their eventual goal was to own it all, was to eventually own the world via issuing debt to it, creating slaves to their system. This whole thing of a debt-based system is twisted, and it's a way that they exert control. If we had a wealth-based system, like a commodity-backed, we could take control. But again, they're going to bring us to war first, and then they're going to issue in their new system. This whole system is going to come down. It's going to come down, but fast. And I think people just have no idea of how bad this is going to be.
I'm sorry, we see history repeating itself. Every time there is a financial crisis, we always seem to go to war first. But that also brings me to my other point. So at this point, it seems like the global currency reset, it's inevitable, right? But when we look at the central banks, they are continuing to buy gold, and it seems like they're positioning themselves for some sort of commodity-backed monetary system. However, I throw this, they're running it on blockchain technology. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's something we could see in the near future?
Blockchain technology for the currency? Absolutely. That's 100% where it's going to be. Well, with regard to gold, you remember central banks only hold it for tradition. Remember that was Bernanke? Oh my God. But no, because look, I think everyone knows where, and I've been telling people for a while now about, I'm a big commodity guy. I like commodities. I like gold and silver. Silver, my favorite asset of all time, only based on the Dow gold ratio, gold silver ratio. And I tell everyone to just look it up. But I think commodities are going to skyrocket as the currency continues to lose its purchasing power. I mean, commodities are priced in dollars, and it's just easy to kind of figure it out how it's going to work. But absolutely, we're going towards a digital currency, blockchain-backed, run system, no doubt about it. And it's been in the works for a very long. I think they already have the system. They're just waiting. They're just waiting for the right time to introduce it to the people, because people aren't going to accept it at first. But so they need a big outcry. Once they get a big outcry, and they get those people that are dependent on the system, help us, please. Don't worry, we got a solution for you. They have it already. They already do. They probably have it. They probably have had this for 20 years. They're just waiting for their own timeline to develop as they push the population in a certain direction.
Yeah, they create the problem, there's a reaction, and then they offer the solution to the problem they created in the first place to give them more control. And yeah, we're definitely going in that direction, I think. Yeah. But we're getting close towards that catastrophic event, I think, because things are starting to get really tough, especially for the little guy.
It's interesting that you brought that up, because like when I was doing my video, literally just before this, I said that. I said, they need a triggering event. They need something really big to get this going. And they're going to look, it's already set up. They already got it. They just, we don't know what it is. It's just a matter of what they're going to do and who they're going to blame it on. It's always like, okay, look what just happened. But, and then they deflect. Okay, but it's these people. Meanwhile, it's them. They're the ones that already have this whole thing done by design. They know when it's going to happen. They know they have think tanks, these central banks, where they try to figure out every scenario you can imagine. Okay, if this happens, what would be the reaction? So they already know. If they know what people are going to do, they can, after, let's say, an event like this, that's just how they control the population, and how, we have there's no freedom anymore. There's no free thought, no free action, no free movement. Everything is controlled. And if you don't think a certain way, then, you're, like I said, like they're trying to do to me, you're not a patriot, or you don't want to help people. Greg, you say love each other, care about each other, and be charitable. Meanwhile, you don't think we should be sending hundreds of billions of dollars over to Ukraine because, how does that work? Like they don't get it. Like I don't support it, but there's a lot of people that seem to support it.
Yeah, they don't get it.
They don't understand what's really going on, how this is the central banks who are going to fund it all. Where does the cash come from? I mean, really, war is a racket. Haven't we all been warned about that? We were told about this a long time ago. It's a racket, and it's going to continue that way. They're going to pull people in any direction they want to, and millions of people are going to die. Millions of people are going to die.
Something that could bring this system or shake the system to where we start to see this move forward a little bit faster, because right now they're just dragging it on. And like you said, they're creating that dependency by, inflation really it's not an accident. It was done intentionally to eradicate the dollar and, again, make that dependency on the system stronger, because everything is traded in dollars. So see how this could have a domino effect throughout the whole world to create that dependency as well. Would you say, like, maybe, we've heard some stuff from Saudi Arabia about, coming out with the BRICS nations now, and they're ready for de-dollarization. Could that be also a catalyst, as well as maybe the Ukraine war? And let's say blame Russia on a cyber attack. I'm trying to tie in a bunch of catalysts together to see if that could create enough stir in the system to where we see the banks switch digital, or what would it take to get us there?
Well, like I said, it would need to be a big event, like we just talked about. It's had to be something really, really big. And right now, what they're lulling people into is some kind of sense of normalcy. Meanwhile, things are getting more abnormal. If you ask me, all you do is have an eyeball open here. People go about their daily lives. They do what they have to do. People, unfortunately, they're so they're struggling to survive. Most people are. They got to get up every day. They don't have time to focus on anything else except their own environment.
Yeah.
And that's really working to get people, unfortunately, stuck into that kind of a routine. Ignore these people, ignore these talks about the collapsing currency, ignore the expanding. Oh, it's not going to happen if there's fine. Then all of a sudden they get this shock and awe moment where, well, look what just happened. Like, who knows? And, it does scare me to a certain degree to think about what are they going to do? I don't know what they're going to do. I wish I knew, but I really believe it's always the same story. We always see it. It's something huge, like a 9/11 style something or other, or even bigger this time, because you see people get numb to things. Maybe the next event's going to be something even bigger than that, something huge, which is going to send the world off into some crazy tangent here. And people are going to get a real wake-up call here. Right now, what have they done to the population? They've created zombies. They've created drones. People are unable to think for themselves, to see what's going on, unfortunately. And that's what scares me the most, is it makes it prime time to do something like that for a big, huge event where people what are they going to do? When people are generally hit with something that they can't process, they shut down. There are two kinds of people. There are people like you and me, and the people that follow our work that are people of action, people that will want to do. They're not just going to sit back and just do nothing. But most of the population has literally been dumbed down and lulled into this sense of normalcy, or a bias of normalcy, and they can't handle the truth. You want to be public enemy number one. Just say one thing that's true, just one. And people just hate your guts for it. They've just been so indoctrinated and programmed to be lied to from the get-go. And this, from the day they're born, they're told falsehoods and this and that, told to believe in things that are just absolutely have no bearing on reality. And then when they hear reality, they get angry. They lash out at you. And some people get it after a while. They go, well, I actually do see these things when most of the people are incapable of it. It's literally a psyop that begins at a very young age, that warps people's mind into disregarding the truth. And that's why channels like yours and mine are dangerous. I really believe that.
Absolutely. A threat to the system.
Yeah, we are a total, we're the resistance. We really are. What do I tell people? Get this stuff out there. When you hear, I hope that this stuff connects with some people, and they start to think, even if we can get through to one or two people that maybe never heard this stuff before, that would make a difference. And then that would spread and would spread and would spread and would spread. But that's what I think we are. I really do. I hear from people all the time, and I think we're making a difference. I really do.
What I was going to ask you about is, before we move on to the next topic, this catalyst. So we already know that everything's by design. They're going to have to really accelerate things with some sort of catastrophic catalyst that will basically make people ask for a solution.
100%. I love that. You're 100% right. That's exactly what I've been trying to tell people. And I love the fact that you see the same thing that I do.
Absolutely. And you're right. You've been right the whole time. The only thing is they're just delaying the whole thing. That's really what's happening. But that catalyst, it seems, it could be a number of things. It could be one really big thing, which I think it's going to be kind of how you agree on that. But the World Economic Forum, they've been talking about, they're crazy, but they talk about cyber attacks. They slowly are subconsciously programming people that a cyber attack is coming. You know what I mean? That's the narrative that's been pushed since last year. And then the administration mentioned we're going to have a cyber attack. And then you saw it on the news for a while. Now they're not talking about it as much. But it's kind of like, it's possible that could be the big one, whether it's on the grid or it could be the financial system, so that they could get off with the liquidity crisis thing and say it was a cyber attack. It could be anything, but definitely.
It'll be things that lead to a series of events. Like it could be a cyber attack that ends up leading to, let's say, a resource problem. People aren't able to. I think what they really want to do, what would be an easy way to control the population, to starve them and to make them thirst. And then that's it. If you could control what people need to live You got them. They're done. They're yours.
Yeah.
You own them. So if there would be a way that they could, let's say, institute some kind of a cyber attack that shuts down the system, shuts down the grid, inability to acquire resources, that's it. They win. People will be on their freaking knees begging for a solution. I literally just said in my video that people, again, need to have the high ground. You need to have a stash of some way to support yourself. But it gets bigger than that. We need to start connecting with people that think along the lines that we do. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You gotta get these relationships going here. So in a worst case scenario, you always have to be ready for the worst case. You have to have people that you can rely on. And it's kind of a difficult thing to do. It's not easy. But I think there are more and more groups of people that are coming together that are starting to see this. And that in itself is a threat to the system. They don't want people coming together. They want you locked up in your house, wearing a device on your face, getting shit put into your body. God knows what this crap really is. This is what they want. They don't want people out. Yeah. They don't want people out in the streets. They don't want them interacting. They got to stop all that. They need to cut off the communication. So that would be another way to do it. Cut off communication, shut down the grid, resource problem. And I've been telling people resource problems are coming for years. And I think it's going to be like really, really extreme at one point.
And you're seeing it happen now a little bit. It's starting to take off. Yeah. Go ahead, Versan.
Well, I guess, let's talk a little bit about digital assets then. Okay, the transition from regular fiat currencies into digital assets. There are a few digital assets people talk about, and we hear Bitcoin and Ethereum a lot. However, what really concerns me is that we see there's this technology called XRP, and we see the institutions and some of the largest world organizations rubbing shoulders with Ripple, and the technology XRP is being adopted by central banks included. Plus, they're buying up the gold, and that's why I asked that question about if we can see a commodity-based backed currency running on blockchain technology. Now, if that's the case, yes, please.
Well, the thing is this. The power, a central bank's power resides in only one thing, and that's their ability to issue debt. If we had a commodity-backed anything, it takes the power away from central banks. They won't allow it. They will not allow that. I don't believe that there's a shot at all that there's going to be a commodity-backed currency, because that, again, is central banks have killed millions of people, fought wars to establish the petrodollar and the fiat monetary system. And they're not going to get, once we allowed that to manifest itself, we lost. It seemed like, everything's great. We could print money and we can do this and we can do that. Now we can do anything we want. We could expand wars and fight wars and everyone can go out and get a credit card. And, once we adopted that system, the debt-based system, they won and we lost. And if we were to get a commodity-backed anything, that was controlled by central banks, it would take their power away. I think that, I could be wrong on this, but I believe that the power resides in one thing, and that is the ability to issue their product. They can't produce gold, for example. It has to be mined. They can't conjure it up out of thin air. I don't know, would they pacify people and maybe slightly link it? You can say, okay, we have a fractional link to a commodity, but how would they work that? They have to revalue it. I don't know how it would work, but it's an interesting concept. Yeah.
Absolutely. But also we see the Bank of International Settlements, they moved precious metals from a tier 3 asset class to a tier 1 asset class, which is low risk. That raises a lot of flags up there. It seems like they're about to reset the price on precious metals. It would also make sense if they wanted to dissolve the debt, possibly. But again, back to what you said, going back to a commodity-based system, they lose their power to print money and inflate. And pretty much the precious metals puts monetary discipline on the central banks. And they didn't like that.
No.
So, right. But we still see the shift happening. If we're looking at the payment rails that these institutions and central banks are using, we look at the Ripple protocol again, because digital assets, most people don't understand. There's 3 components to it. You have the digital asset, the token, you have the accounting mechanism, which is the blockchain, and then the most important part would be the protocol. We still see the central banks, even though they want to continue printing money, they're still working and partnering with Ripple, the Ripple protocol, So, my brother and I, we dig really deep into this stuff. It took us 10 days to figure out that financial institutions would not use Bitcoin. That's how fast we learned about what's going on here. So, I just wanted your thoughts also on the company Ripple and technology XRP. I'm sure you've done some research into this.
Yeah, I would probably agree with you. It won't be Bitcoin. It will be more than likely XRP, Ripple, something along the way they work. But again, I love speculating and talking about this stuff.
Of course.
But at the same time, it's like, maybe you can see the writing on the wall with a lot. And I think that, in fact, I know this is the way it is eventually going to go. I don't know all the little intricacies of it, but I just can't, going back to what I said, I wish that we, the people, could take back the system, that we, the people, we don't need the Bank of Internal Settlements or the Federal Reserve, and we don't need these institutions to control the monetary system. It was never supposed to be like this, and we gave that power up. Why can't we, the people, take back the system and make it something that would work for all of us, whether it's cashless or cash or whatever's involved in it? Maybe there is something to be said about, having a mode of transaction that can make everyone accountable. It's pretty incredible to think about, and it's very vast. So, but I don't know. I think it's going to be, all I can say is this: once they're finished with the current system, and it looks like they're getting close to it, we're going to get more clues as to where we believe this is going to go. And there's no doubt about it. Blockchain, there's no doubt about it. It's the new system is going to be based on a blockchain. There's no other that I know of, another technology that it could, maybe something will come up. I don't know. But that's where it's going to go. There's no doubt about it. Whether it's based on XRP or backed, or I don't know. It may absolutely be that. I don't really know. But I know it's going to be a system. Unfortunately, there's going to be. I don't think it's going to play out good for people. However they want to cut it.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And the reason we asked you about XRP is because so XRP, the value is actually in the protocol. I hate the word cryptocurrency because people think, oh, I'm buying a Donkey Kong token, kind of bullshit deal, But no, when you buy a piece of that token, there's a limited supply. You're buying.
Yeah, that's important.
Network,
that would that you have to have a limited supply.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think this, yeah. I think something like this would work. It would be very nice, but I'm just wondering how it would play into the power of central banks.
The interesting thing is, since 2014, Ripple, or 2013, they created this token, the XRP, and it's basically a financial instrument of value as a bridge currency to move value. I want to send dollars, it moves through XRP, receives in the currency it's going to. So it's just a bridge. But what it does is it eliminates the 4 to 5 day wait period. It eliminates the high fees that banks incur, and it eliminates the 6% failure rate that Swift has because it's all on the blockchain. So essentially, this protocol, this digital asset XRP, is a huge threat to the financial system. And what's interesting is that's why Ripple got sued, and they're dealing with an SEC lawsuit. And it's like an indicator that every time an innovative technology company gets sued, they're disrupting a whole sector. Like Uber got sued, Tesla got sued, Google got sued, and now Ripple got sued. And there's no gravity behind the lawsuit anyway, no logical sense. But the token, it moves, like you can move $50 million in 3 to 5 seconds, and it would cost you a few pennies. Yeah. See, that's like alien technology. And that's the thing, why it's such a threat to the system. But the interesting thing is Ripple, instead of fighting the system like Bitcoin and all the other tech, they're working with the system. They were at the World Economic Forum the other day. You know what I mean? They're rubbing shoulders with the IMF. They're on the advisory group. So
I've been hearing a lot about what you're talking about. In fact, I was just talking to my friend Jimmy, who's probably watching this right now, who's a real big fan of XRP, he you should get him on this show. But anyway,
maybe we can.
Yeah, he's a kind of a guy that, well, I don't know if he would actually do this stuff. He's kind of like, he likes to lay low. But we were
Don't
just
you
talking about
too?
this stuff and the technology of all this. It is fascinating. It really, really is. And I think it is a very strong possibility that something along those lines, maybe that itself is what's going to be adopted by central banks. But my bigger, because I'm a macro guy, I don't really laser in on any one thing. I try to look at the bigger picture and say, okay, how does this benefit? How would this technology benefit them? Because they're not going to allow it to benefit us.
Yeah.
They're going to find a way to twist it. Everything good, these freaking institutions find a way to twist.
You're right.
And make it, benefit them as opposed to the right. Because look, we're just a means to an end to these things that run the entire show. But it's super interesting to think about, and it sounds absolutely logical to me that it'll work somewhere like that.
Well, so we had a conversation with Peter Schiff last week or 2 weeks ago, and he thinks we're entering into a Great Depression 2.0. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that's what they want. Well, look, what are they saying? What do we keep finding out? More and more people are going to lose their jobs, layoffs by the tens of thousands. I believe that very, very soon we're going to start seeing monthly job losses in the hundreds of thousands. And, it's going to go on and on. So but this is part of the mechanism. They must bring the economy to its knees. And how you do this is by pressuring the consumer. I've been telling people this since I don't know how freaking long. This is what they're doing. And it's working out exactly how they want it to work. They're telling everyone, we're going to raise rates. We're going to raise rates. And that's going to miraculously stop inflation. But people need to lose their jobs first here. But they're not doing a damn thing to contract the money supply. They keep ballooning the money supply, which is the root cause of why we're having all this, seeing all this shit. So are we going into a Great Depression? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but what are people doing? They continue to borrow. They're giving people increases in their credit limits without even asking for it. They know people are going to be irresponsible. They're pushing the population into that way, making them dependent on the system. And then whatever system they come up with, whether it's XRP backed or something else, I don't know. But the main thing that we need to think about is how is it going to benefit? It's going to benefit them. How are they going to twist it to benefit them as opposed to us? They're going to utilize something like that or something different? Do they already have something in the works? Was this something that was leaked? I don't know. I wish I did know. But that's not going to stop like things. For me, for example, why do I like commodities so much, or gold and silver? Because these are things that people understand. They've had value for thousands and thousands thousands of years. They're real things, and so that's, for people to get their head around, like even me, like this stuff is way out there. Like obviously you guys have a lot more knowledge on this than I do. But I just say, okay, what is it that everyone can connect to, that how we can all protect ourselves, at least from a financial standpoint? But it goes on so much bigger than just the financial standpoint, man. We really just need each other. I've been telling people for years how we got to come together, and I hope it's working.
Once these layoffs really start to hit, right?
Yeah.
That's when we're going to see the real recession begin.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Of course.
So,
and that's the guy that's laid off, or the woman that's laid off. Guess what? Their depression just started. And this is going to just balloon. This is what they want. And, as the world goes deeper into recession, depression, you're going to see this war get bigger and bigger. Look how they're setting this up. And we've seen this before, too. And what is it going to do? For the equity markets, more than likely, it's going to be a positive thing. So, I mean, just look, history is a good gauge as to how things play out moving forward. And that's how it's happened, how it's worked in the past. So it's probably going to work the same way now.
Well, my prediction really for 2023, based on the research, is massive de-dollarization, massive devaluation of currency, massive layoffs, and massive rise in commodity prices.
100% right. I mean, you just hit the nail on the head. All of that, what you just said, I'm absolutely with you on that.
Oh yeah, we've positioned ourselves to hopefully be bullish this year. Another thing I wanted to talk about is artificial intelligence. I don't know if you saw this, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, BLS, they just came out with some article, and they're saying that 60% of white-collar desk jobs could be in jeopardy because of artificial intelligence. So this kind of ties into what we were just saying. having more technology come in and, replacing people's jobs. People are more dependent on the system now because we also don't have a regulatory framework for what is going to be our money, our currency as far as digital assets. So, that's another thing that concerns me really is having that regulatory framework in the crypto digital asset space before we see the collapse or complete devaluation of our currency, our dollars. So that's really what concerns me. There's no real safe haven to put your money besides precious metals, in my opinion, and assets.
Yeah, well, you can't be in the dollar. You can't be in the fiat currency. You got to be out of your freaking mind. That's what I've been telling people for the longest time. You can't. No, absolutely not. 100% no. It is amazing, but I love the fact that you guys, like, we're obviously on the same page on so many things. It's amazing. And I love that. I love hearing from people like this. They're saying, hey, you know what? I see this. And like I said, there's more and more people that are going to start to get it and see that what's happening. I wish we need a revolution, man. How many times have you heard me say that on my
I think
video?
it's coming.
I'd like to think so. And I think they're ready for it too. Because I think that once people have had enough, once people start to hunger, and I think this is what they're going to do. Like I said earlier here, I think they're going to find a way to cut off this. See what they were just doing recently with the supply chains here. It was just the opening act,
Oh,
so
sure.
what they're going to do, move in here, it's going to get extreme, man. And when people get that hunger in their belly, they're going to turn into animals. I've been saying this is why they want people to act like animals. Think in the now. Don't even concern yourself with what's coming, and they got people stuck like that, not able to even, they think like animals. They really have devolved people to such a degree that they think like animals. It's crazy.
Well, what last words would you have, like, to words of maybe encouragement, or what advice would you have to people to pretty much strategically position themselves and prepare for basically what might come or what's coming?
Well, for everyone, it's going to be an individual thing. People need to ponder their own situation, where they are in life. Look, there are a lot of people that are very well off, and some people that aren't so well off. I'm sure we're going to have that wide gamut of people that are watching this, and some people have different priorities too. So it's not going to be the same for everyone. But I mean, at least strategically, from a financial standpoint, what have I been telling people since day one? Bet against the debt, become your own central bank, because they're not going to stop inflating. And then at one point, this entire thing is going to change. It's going to change, but fast. I think a meltdown in the debt market is inevitable. It's going to be very rapid. It's going to destroy global equity markets, and cash is just going to move. It's going to move into real things. All this other stuff is great to talk about and stuff, but that's why I think people need exposure to commodities here. You got to get out of fiat currencies here. This would be just the backbone of anybody's kind of plan of how they can maybe at least not get totally destroyed in this situation. And I'm not telling everyone they should go all in on anything either. You need to be somewhat diversified. You need to be kind of spread out. But I think people need exposure, at least some exposure to commodities, whether they're holding it in their hand or that's the best way to me, is to have it. If you have it, it's yours in your hand. So, I mean, but, then people need to, again, realize that they could, there's other ways we got to circumvent their system. If that means, for example, hey, I want to acquire this from you, and I don't have to accept a fiat currency for it. I'm willing to accept gold or silver or services for it, or maybe people could barter for things. We got to start thinking outside their system. Their system has got the world by the throat. I mean, and they knew it. They knew it was going to get that way. And people, they just, like, I have friends of mine, really good friends of mine, smart people. They don't own an ounce of gold, an ounce of silver, none of it. They just don't see this as money at all. They don't get it. They're like, well, why? First of all, when I show, like, friends of mine, like, I got this stuff all over my freaking desk here. They're like, oh, wow, you mean to tell me that you can actually buy silver? Yeah, people have no idea that you can actually buy this stuff. They don't, people just think of money, and they think of it as, pieces of paper, numbers printed on them, and that's real money. They don't consider that these other things are real money, and they have been. So, and I think that's just how they've been indoctrinated. They're not told, and I wasn't taught this stuff in school. You learn this later on.
I taught my mother and my sister, hey, you got to think of it like you're trading toilet paper for real money. That's how I told them to think of it. It's not you're not buying anything. You're just giving away trash for real money. That's
Exactly.
basically
I
it.
wish people would start. Why don't people start transacting in this stuff? I
Yeah.
would look. I have cars and guitars and all crap laying around. If I was to sell some of this, I would gladly take gold or silver for it. 100%.
Every time I go to make a purchase nowadays, I typically do carry a silver coin on me. And I ask them if they accept silver coins. They say no.
Yeah.
Ask them if they accept crypto. They say no. And then I ask them if they'll accept cash, and they still say no. They need a card.
They need it. It's in that. I know a lot of places where I live, they don't even accept. It says we do not accept cash. I mean, it's incredible. You're seeing more and more of this stuff. It's
it's
this
crazy.
is the movement. This is where we're going here.
Any last words, Versan, you want to say before we sign off with Gregory?
Gregory, I gotta say thank you so much for giving us your time here, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers are gonna love this.
Look, I'm just Greg Nobody. I
Come
love
on, man.
you guys are awake. I love that. You guys get it. I love that, and I wish more people like you guys give me hope. Really, really do. Because sometimes I feel very down. I'm like, people just don't get it. But then when I talk to people like you, I'm like, wow, they get it.
Gregory, I think you are touching more people with your channel than you realize it.
Agreed.
I mean, not everybody's going to reach out to you, but truthfully you are. And I'm not going to lie. Like when we started watching your stuff, it started to basically click a little something, where you don't think of too much in one part of the brain, I got to be honest with you. So
I love that. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. It's amazing. Really amazing. And we should do this again soon, really. Maybe a month or two. We'll get back on.
For
We'll
sure.
readdress.
I mean, hopefully I'm sure a lot will change by then. So we'll have.
Well, that would be the beauty of it. We can say, hey, look, this is what we spoke about. Where are we going?
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Be interesting.
Well, again, thank you so much, Gregory.
Thank you too.
Great talking to you. We'll chat soon, okay?
I hope so. Take care.
All right, brother. Take care.
Thanks.